Hi, my name's Matt Hupperts and I'm the owner of the Edgeworks here in Denver, Colorado. Today I'd like to go over a little bit about how to wax your skis and how to do general maintenance of your bases. I would like to just quickly do some waxing for us here.
Okay, why don't you show me how we do it.
Alright.
This is a waxing iron.
This would be a waxing iron. This is a very basic waxing iron. We have many different ones. The waxing irons, as opposed to your mom's clothing iron, her clothing iron would probably have holes in the base for a steam iron. Also, it has a much higher temperature range than what a wax iron does. Wax irons are very low temperature range. The other thing that you'd be looking at is with a wax iron, the temperature gauge is much more consistent, whereas a steam iron, it varies greatly all the time. So when using your wax iron, you really want to keep the temperature low enough so that the wax melts, but not so high that it would be burning and smoking. If the wax is starting to smoke, you're changing the composition of that wax. It's no longer that cold temperature wax that you were using or that mid-temperature wax. You've changed the composition. So keep that temperature low. It also will keep you from overheating your base and causing any kind of base damage. For today's example, I'm just going to use a very mid-range bulk temperature wax. We would carry both regular retail wax, but we also carry some bulk temperature wax as well, which will help your pocketbook. When you're waxing, in this particular case, my wax iron is just a little bit too low. I'm barely melting the wax. I'm not getting any kind of smoke. You'll start to drip on the wax. And I'm going to show you two different ways of doing this. You can just melt the wax on in little drips like that. Always keep your iron moving so that you don't overheat any particular area of the base. That's one way. That's one way. Another way that I like, that tends to not use so much wax material, is if you crayon the wax on first and then just melt a fine amount of wax. The wax will cover the base quicker, faster, and also not leave you with so much excess wax, because once you scrape it off, it's done. You're throwing it away. So you'll use less wax if you crayon it on first, then melt it in. Once you've melted the wax on, I recommend that you let it cool for at least an hour. If you can wait a day would be great. The longer you let it sit, the further it will penetrate. Having more wax in your base makes your base more resilient to hits. So hits from stumps, rocks, whatever. It just will help your base be a more resilient base. I need to grab a plastic scraper.
Okay.
Once you've let your base cool and you're ready to scrape, use a plastic scraper for wax. In the area where I already just crayoned on the wax, that's about how much I have to scrape off. Not a whole lot. The area where I melted on more, you can see I have quite a bit more wax to scrape off. Both have the same amount of coverage in that wax area, but definitely here I have much more waste. Once you've scraped, you can come back with Scotch-Brite to polish your base. You're using Scotch-Brite to clear the wax out of the structure like we talked about, but it also helps polish the base. The maroon is more coarse, whereas the white Scotch-Brite would be a higher polishing Scotch-Brite. If you're getting more into racing, you can get more involved with structure brushes, which will help. Plastic brushes will help pull the wax out of the structure. Horsehair will polish. There are also brass brushes, which you would use before you wax, to literally scratch that P-Tex base to open up the pores to accept the wax better. And if you get more into it, you might even find that you want to go with a roto brush, which would just hook up to a drill and it allows you to polish the base faster. So if you're doing quite a few more skis, or if you wanted to get a more higher polish finish. Waxing can get quite expensive. You can move into Helix and Jetstream and different fluoro products. Something like this, as small of a little brick as that little piece of wax, is $125. So this would be definitely for that racer. They're really looking for speed and they're trying to get the most out of their equipment. Same deal with the Helix, $125. Very high-end fluoro equipment. The waxes we've been using today would be a standard paraffin or a carbohydrate wax.
Those fluoro waxes, are they temperature sensitive too?
Yes, they are. They would come as different temperature ranges, but basically where you really receive the most benefit with fluorocarbon waxes is going to be in the warmer temperatures, because there again you're really moving that water out fast. It's really a waterproof or water resistant type material that will really help move that water out fast. When you're talking about colder temperatures, a low fluoro will probably do you just fine. And like I was saying, the other products that we were talking about, we've been using hydrocarbon waxes as opposed to the fluorocarbon waxes. I think with this kind of basic information, you guys would be able to get going. There is different wax remover. I recommend wax remover mostly just to clean off the tops of your skis, maybe late season when you get a lot of diesel fuel or different wax buildups in your ski base and you need to really clean it out. Then you could use some wax remover, but for the most part, don't use wax remover because it will dry out your base. There's different ways to clean your base by just melting the wax on, heating it up, and while it still is really warm and wet, scrape at that point, and all those contaminants would have been brought up to the surface, and it allows you to scrape and clean that off. So I think with most of these basic tools, a vise such as this would run like right around $150. Basic iron probably $60. Stones would probably start at about $12 and go up. File guides $25. Bulk waxes probably would start at about $15. Scotch-Brite, you know, a couple of bucks. So you can get into it for just a basic stone and quick wax. You can get into it for the price of a quick tune, and that will last you 2 to 3 years. So that's where I recommend you start. From there you can start to pull together your own kit that you would have all these tools to bring together to start tuning your friends' equipment, your family's equipment, and all your own. So I hope that helps some of your questions.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Thanks.